Good Friday. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing starting this Friday, March 17th, and starting off with a look at our recent precipitation the past week. On the left, you can see bone dry across about 2/3 of our area, except across the mountains of central Idaho, where there was roughly, given by these colors, anywhere from a ½ inch to 1.5 inches of precipitation. If we go to the past 14 days, much of the same. There's been a fair amount of wetness up in the north, but most of Nevada and Utah, with the exception of the Wasatch Chain, has been dry now for over 2 weeks. So across southeastern Utah and the Arizona Strip, especially, and into southern Nevada, there is some concern that with this dryness, if we don't get moisture soon, dormant fuels could be susceptible to fire. We'll keep an eye on that. A look at our upper level map and satellite infrared imagery superimposed. You can see deep low pressure, which has been a mainstay for much of this winter across the Gulf of Alaska, and it's pushing up more moisture into the Pacific Northwest, but that's going to take a while to affect most of the Great Basin, except for maybe parts of Idaho, because we have high pressure building up from the south. This time of year also, the desert southwest starts heating up and pumping up more high pressure. Elsewhere on the map, we see the remnants of that big northeastern snowstorm now moving up into the Canadian Maritimes. And it's actually the placement of this deep low and this deep low over Alaska, which is allowing high pressure to push up across the Great Basin, bringing unseasonably warm and dry conditions. And so look at today's upper level map. On the left, you can see the Great Basin outlined in the bright white. We are under a ridge of high pressure, pushing that moisture that's moving onshore across the west coast, mostly into the Pacific Northwest. Warmer, drier air building in from the south, especially dry atmosphere across central and southern areas. And on the right-hand side, because of the increasing sunlight, even though we're under high pressure, overall good dispersion because of the sunshine heating the ground, making things more unstable. Taking a look individually at our transport winds and mixing heights, we do have some transport flow coming out of the southwest here, especially across Nevada and into parts of southern Idaho in the anywhere from the 15 to 25 mile an hour range. The vertical mixing heights quite good in a large portion of our area, especially across southern and southeastern areas. Now, as we go into Saturday, that high pressure ridge starts to shift a bit further to the east. There's moisture encroaching into the western portion of the Great Basin across the Sierra front and into portions of southern and central Idaho, where there could be some precipitation across the mountains. With a breakdown of the high and still good sunshine in many areas, excellent overall dispersion. We can evaluate that both on the transport flow. Increasing winds here in the orange and purple means transport winds anywhere from about 25 to 35 miles per hour. Also get mixing heights quite good and high, as you can see by the scale on the right-hand side in all areas. And then on Sunday, we see that moisture starting to spread across Nevada into parts of Idaho, with showers starting to approach far northwestern Utah, dry across our southern and eastern areas. Again, overall dispersion quite good, so no major concerns through there. And if we take a look at the individual components, again, transport winds on the left, vertical mixing heights on the right, overall pretty good wind and or mixing heights. Now, looking at the Utah Clearing Index produced by the National Weather Service, you can see a trend Friday, Saturday, Sunday towards improving dispersion conditions from left to right, pores in the purplish to bluish shades, improving as you go yellow to orange to red. As you can see, as we go into the weekend, as high pressure breaks down and we get more transport flow and better mixing, our overall dispersion improves as well. And if we look at the 3-day precipitation amounts Friday through Sunday, you see that precipitation spreading across our northern areas, especially central Idaho, where over 1 inch of precipitation expected over the highest elevation, starting to encroach into far northern Nevada and far northwest Utah. So taking a look at early next week, on Monday, even though there's high pressure overhead, we are getting a surge of Pacific moisture overwhelming it, and we should see a fair amount of cloud cover and increasing moisture across most areas except across the extreme south. On the right-hand side, overall ventilation or dispersion remains excellent in just about all areas, a little lower due to cloud cover up in Idaho and Wyoming. If we look into Tuesday, again, even though high pressure is still trying to build off to our east, we're more now under the influence of this low pressure trough dropping across the Pacific coast, and just a lot of moisture coming across the mountains, and finally bring a break in the pattern to more clouds and cooler temperatures. Our dispersion in that kind of a pattern remains excellent just about everywhere. And same story as we go through Wednesday. Deepening moisture, and this time into our southern areas where they could start seeing some precipitation. Overall dispersion remains good, and by next Thursday, we actually see a closed low forming up to our east across Colorado. That'll keep eastern Utah and parts of the Arizona Strip perhaps into the clouds and moisture. A brief break across most of the remainder of the Great Basin, but another Pacific storm system starting to approach California. This could be a stronger storm for much of the Great Basin by next weekend if the pattern continues. So precipitation accumulation as we go through Monday and Wednesday next week. You see northern areas of Utah and Nevada starting to get affected. Continued wet across much of Idaho, where they've been wet for quite some time. And then later on down the road, Wednesday through Friday, you see that precipitation expand through just about the entire Great Basin. Only light to moderate amounts, but they'll be long duration, so fuels that have been very dry and very easy to burn the last 2 weeks, that'll be changing as we go through the middle and latter part of next week. And that pattern for wetness continues in the 8 to 14-day outlook, which takes us through the end of March. We stay wetter than normal across just about the entire area, temperature-wise basically near normal. This concludes our smoke briefing. Our next briefing will be this coming Monday. Have a great weekend.